Hello, Tubby and Coos fans. It's me, Candace, coming at you from my home office today with all of my books and my plants. And I am excited to have back with us Ashley River Brant. If you didn't attend our event last time, it was really lovely, and it is on YouTube, and you can go and watch it, and it will be very calming and it will bring you peace, and it will reground you. So go and watch that first event that we did for her book. But today we're going to be talking about Messages from the Heart of the Divine, which is her new tarot deck. So Ashley River Brant is a multidimensional artist and feminine healer, bringing her medicine through as the creator of Soul Tattoo, which is a ceremonial intuitive tattooing modality, as well as with film photography, illustration, writing, and through her online courses. Ashley uses her gifts of mediumship and connections to the loving spirits of the natural world to offer a feminine voice of healing expression for collective transformation in all her work. Ashley's focus is to assist her clients and all who are drawn to her work in awakening to a new wave of feminine power, attuned to the mystery, honoring the creative and intuitive power within us all, and embodying it with grounded presence and purpose so that we may all heal, open our hearts to the sacred, and align with our authentic expression and soul's true essence. And all of that rings so true to me. And so I hope it rings true to you as well. So welcome, Ashley. Thank you so much for coming here again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love to connect with you. And I just also love your intro so much.
Oh, thanks. I like it because it's peppy.
It's so peppy. It's fun.
It has the right energy for me, I guess. That's why I like it. And I also want to say that if anyone has any questions that you would like Ashley to pull cards for you, she's willing to do that. So tell us about your tarot deck first off, and like, what is it, and why did you do this?
Yes. So here it is. It's called Messages from the Heart of the Divine. And it's really an oracle deck to connect to the divine essence within your heart. You know, it's to connect to what's already within you, which is love. It's always been a dream of mine to create an oracle deck. It started, off when I was growing up with my grandmother. We also lived in New Orleans, which is why I love to connect with Tubby and Coos also. My grandma read tarot, and I remember just growing up, playing with her deck in her den, and just like feeling so captivated by the archetypes and the symbolism. And, I think as children, we all come into this world feeling really closely connected to what our purpose is and what we're here to do. And I just felt that connection really young, that I wanted to create my own deck one day. And so here it is. Finally, after so many years, so many revisions, really, really connecting to like the true essence of what wanted to come through me and how I wanted to share. And it's the deck's essence is really about heart healing, really about connecting to the heart. And, the energy of the heart is courage, it's love, it's joy, it's connection, it's receptivity, it's feeling supported. And that's really what this deck can offer you. So there's a guidebook that comes with it. And so each card, there's 44 cards in the deck, and each card has a description and then also a ritual. So you can actually engage in your own self-healing practice by pulling the card, connecting to the card, reading the transmission, and then doing the ritual. And each card itself is painted similar to my book. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but all of my art, including even like my tattoo art, is really infused with the medicine of plants. So with these cards, and I'll just pull out a couple so you can see, I painted them with plants.
Oh, cool. Like using plants as your paintbrushes?
Like making my own pigments.
Oh, cool. That's beautiful.
So they're painted with plants, there's different flower essences, and so, you know, there's this unseen vibration that is really infused into each card. So each card really gives you this subtle activation because you are connecting to the spirit of the plants when you're engaging, which is really special. But I don't talk about that so much in the guidebook, but it's just a side note of how I create and how the cards are so special.
That's really cool. And I love the idea of pairing rituals with the cards. That's not something that I have seen very often with tarot cards. Like I'm not sure I mean, I'm sure they exist, but I don't think I've ever personally seen a deck that where each card has its own ritual. So tell us about that, like the decision to do that, and kind of why, I guess, why pair a ritual with the cards.
Yeah. So all of my work, no matter what medium, you know, whether it's my book or, you know, my courses or the deck or anything, it really centers around creativity and creation. And even my book, Tending to the Sacred, you know, it's about the art of ritual, but ritual is kind of like creativity 101 for me. It's like creation really is like being connected to the mystery, being connected to the unseen. So much of creation is in the unseen. And and so ritual is a way that we can really activate creativity within us. We can have an intention, you know, whatever your question is that you're setting sacred space, you're connecting to your oracle deck for the day, and you're like, I really need some clarity around this decision, or, you know, I don't know how to get from here to here, or, you know, whatever is coming through for you today, maybe just how can I soften more into my heart today? You pull a card, you read the card, and then you engage in the ritual. And the ritual is to really activate that creative process, you know, to get you from where you are to what your intention is or what you're calling in. And I think we live at a time where creativity is so needed more than anything. And we often like will hear a lot of people say like, oh, I don't feel creative, or I'm not an artist. And I don't believe that at all. I don't think that. I think everyone is an artist and everyone is creative, and ritual is a way that we can really tap into like the magic of creativity beyond just like, I'm painting a picture here. You know, it's creation is magical. So that's why I brought the ritual in, and it's also to connect it to the book, and to show that ritual really is infinite. Like there are endless rituals that you can do, and some of them can be so simple and so profound and completely just recreate energy.
Absolutely. And so for those who are watching that aren't I guess really informed on tarot and
Mhm.
on like the way these cards work, what are the types of things that folks could explore with these cards?
So my deck is different than a tarot deck, because tarot is like traditionally these like specific archetypes, you know, the suits. It's this more set language. The oracle deck to me is, you know, it's connecting to like the infinite. It's connecting to like, what is the oracle? It's like the bridge to the unseen, the bridge to all wisdom. And I tend to always gravitate towards an oracle deck or consulting the oracle or tarot when I'm seeking clarity, when I'm seeking guidance, when I'm seeking reflection, because that's really what the deck does. It's not necessarily accessing anything outside of you. It's your aura, your energy connecting to the energy of the deck, and then the deck being a mirror for you, the deck being a reflection. So you can, just shuffle, ask your question. If there's there's a couple spreads that I share in the guidebook, which are really fun and really beautiful. But I definitely recommend in the beginning, if you're just starting to use a divination tool for the first time, a tool to connect to the divine, to connect to your higher self and to the wisdom of the heart, just to pull one card. Just ask your question, pull a card, do it in like a sacred ceremony for yourself. This is an act of self-care. So you can, light incense or a candle or sacred smoke. You can take a few deep breaths, and you can call on your guides or ancestors or any type of, spiritual support that you have. If you're connected to your guides, you can do that before you engage with the deck. And then just see what comes through and allow that to be exactly what it needs to be. Allow it to be healing for you in that moment. And then you can continue with the ritual if you feel called. You can pull a few more cards if you need more support, but definitely starting with one, I think, is good.
Yeah, and yeah, oracle decks are very different from tarot decks as far as, I don't know, for me, as far as like what they do too. Or as I mean, I guess I would consult both for questions or guidance. But I guess like the type of guidance you get is sort of different with the two of them. So anyway, I would suggest to just trying to figure out a little bit for yourself, which type of thing might work well for you. And oh, go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think too, it's like the energy of the deck. Like tarot for me is really connected to my grandmother and my ancestors. And so when I'm wanting like that specific guidance or, to connect more to that language, I'm going to connect to the tarot. If I'm needing to connect to like my heart, like my deck is a beautiful deck for this. I have one of my favorite deck creators is Alana Fairchild, and she has this Isis oracle that is so beautiful. And I always connect to that when I'm needing like a really rooted, deep, like feminine power activation. Like there's definitely different decks I will go to when I'm needing any sort of specific, shift or energy.
Yeah. And you mentioned your grandmother, and so this was another question that I had was like, how did you sort of learn all of this, and how did you discover your own abilities?
Actually, my grandmother definitely was like a path paver for me. Like she opened my eyes to sort of like the basics from a really young age. She was really into astrology. She like read my chart for me when I was little. I would always have like, I'm a Taurus, and I had like Taurus jewelry when I was like a kid. And she was really, she read tarot, so she would read my cards and kind of explain them to me. And so I just had this like fascination from a young age of like the way that she moved throughout the world, because it was so different than anyone else I had ever seen, like anyone else in my family. I think also like growing up a little bit in New Orleans, like really brought that magic to my life as well. Such a sacred city. But she actually passed away when I was 18, and that's when things started to really open for me, because I was like longing so much to stay connected to her. And so that's when my like mediumship gifts opened, and I started having, really strange experiences, and I was just like completely opening. And I think that this is fairly common for people, that death can really ignite you, or death can kind of set you on your path, whether it's like, personal internal death, like an ego death or something, or if it's like a death of a loved one. But that was really it for me, where I was sort of propelled onto my path, and then her spirit was really guiding me in those early years of like trying to figure out like, what am I doing? And I had started when I was like 19 or 20, started reading tarot professionally, and I was doing like readings at, you know, like events in New York City and like bars and restaurants and stuff like that, birthday parties, you know, wherever they'll hire me basically. And that really like helped me understand just the art of divination a little bit more. I'm definitely like a really deep study type of person, and I tend to like spend a lot of time studying, just like witnessing what's happening when I'm doing something. And so just being in that place of practice with tarot for many years is what kind of guided me a lot. And then I was, you know, using tarot for so long, and then I had this message. I think there's like this point in our lives, if we're like really connected to tarot, where we might start abusing the tarot, where we like pull a million different cards trying to get a different answer.
Yeah.
I was like at one of those places in my life where I was like also like in a pivot in my life, trying to figure out what I wanted to do for my career. And I was consulting the tarot constantly, like wasn't really like understanding the answers. Like it was like mixed, you know, answers, and feeling confused. And then I just got the message from my grandmother, like, stop reading tarot, go buy an oracle deck. And I never really had an oracle deck before. Like I didn't know that many like oracle deck creators or anything, but I went into this magical store that was on the Lower East Side that sadly is no longer there. And I turned around, and at the bottom shelf of this like display shelf, there was an oracle deck, and the author had the same name as my grandmother. It was Denise. And the deck was so simple and so beautiful and really inspired this deck. It was I like am moving right now, so I packed it away, or else I'd go grab it. But it was a beautiful deck that on the back just had like pictures of flowers, kind of like stock photo, like just like very kind of basic pictures of nature and flowers. And then the card just had like a really short paragraph of a practice or like a mantra or a message. And that's when I like really connected to like the simplicity of divination, like how simple and how like simple is actually better. Like we need that simple medicine sometimes. We don't need things to be so complex. With tarot, it's like, you know, the whole like story, there can be like a lot to unravel. And so from there, I was like working on a tarot deck for a couple years, you know, drawing like my versions of like the major arcana. And then I scrapped that and was like, I'm going to create an oracle deck. And that's when I started to kind of go down this other path.
And that's so interesting how it works with the universe sort of guiding you in that direction. Finding the oracle deck with the person had the same name as your grandmother. I mean, it's just like, oh yes, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And that's so cool how that works sometimes. And so what has been your biggest challenge, I guess, when it comes to like your abilities and helping people, and sort of being able to connect, and or if you've had any, we all have challenges, I guess.
I'd say like in the beginning of my path, career, whatever you want to call it, I definitely had a lot more challenges when it comes to my gifts. I mean, being a young woman reading tarot all over Manhattan at bars and restaurants was like challenge, just capital C challenge. Definitely like lots of skeptics, like people not really understanding like what even intuition is, or just a lot of people like, you know, doubting me. But I think that this really taught me to trust myself, to trust, like, no, this is just what it is. Like, this is just what I'm doing. This is just how spirit speaks to me. Like, spirit probably speaks to you too, that you just don't know or you're just not open to. And so staying really strong in what I'm doing. And this was like trial and error, I'd say, for many years. I think I'm now in a really good place with trusting myself. I'd say in the last like maybe 5 years, being a lot more trusting in the mystery, trusting what is not logical. Um, and I think that's just the biggest challenge, is just trusting yourself.
Yeah, I think that's really hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Is to like trust the things that aren't logical, or like trust that it's going to work out even if it seems like it's not, or
Mhm.
there are lots of things that just happen where it's like, why, like when you're in the middle of it, that it's just so hard to trust that it's going to work out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I struggle with that a lot. um,
Yeah, I think that's why like this deck came through in such like a heart-centered way. It's a really, it's called Messages from the Heart of the Divine. It's like connecting to that purest essence of yourself and connecting to the heart. It's connecting in here, not out here. So, that's really where we can find deeper trust. Like if we are letting our heart lead and be open and be courageous, like that's what allows us to trust.
Yeah. And what advice would you give for folks watching who might be afraid of all of this stuff? Because I know that a lot of people are sort of hesitant or afraid. And like they kind of are interested or want to get into it, but they're not sure. What sort of advice would you give to those folks?
Well, I'd say like you have to look at like where you're afraid of yourself or where you're afraid of love, because we're not necessarily like talking about connecting to something outside of yourself, or like, like communicating with ghosts, or, we're actually just talking about like resourcing what's already within you. You have so much wisdom and magic and medicine and gifts already within you, and it lives in the heart. So how can you trust that like you're enough and you have enough within you? And then let the cards, let nature, let your body, everything be a divination tool, to be a tool that connects you to love, really, or to connects you to that like mysterious aspect of life that doesn't need to be feared. It's just we can't like analyze it so much. It just is.
Yeah, for sure. And I find myself every so often, like, even though this has sort of been my life for a while, all of these things is just how I live, and
Mhm.
how I grew up. So it's been my life, but I do find myself, even having been in it for a really long time, moving away from it every so often, and have to sort of bring myself back, because I get afraid, or whatever, life happens and I get too involved in myself and what I'm doing, and then it's like, oh no, I need to reconnect because I've like lost my connection. And so it's like, okay, let me recenter and reconnect. And it's just good to do every so often, even if you have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. It's that like connection that I feel helps us really build trust, and also like build more ease in life, more peace, more all the things that we need more of.
I totally agree. And intuition as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
The more connected I sort of feel, the better I feel like my intuition is. Um, so yeah,
Exactly.
all, like you said, all the things. And so if anyone watching has questions that they want to Ashley to consult her deck for you, you can type them into the chat, and she will do that. So we'll kind of like see if anyone has questions as we go along. But yeah, I wanted to let the folks watching know that if you have anything particular that you want Ashley to sort of consult on, and you're comfortable with doing this on YouTube, then go ahead and submit.
We don't have to say your name.
Yeah, we don't have to say your name or anything like that. But yes, this is really cool, and I do just love the idea of having the rituals sort of paired with it, because you can really tap in, I guess, with that, where you can, once you get your answers, you can really get a feel for it, which is something that oracle cards tend to do that tarot doesn't. Tarot sort of, like you're saying, it's archetypes, and it sort of just gives you a fairly straight answer, although depending on how good you are at interpreting it, most of the time it's just like, this is what it is. Whereas oracle decks, I feel like, are a lot more fluid, maybe, and a lot more like, based on feeling. And so I feel like the ritual goes really well with that, the oracle vibe, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think too, like a lot of times when we're consulting a divination tool, we can tend to be in a place where we're like anxious or overwhelmed, and we're like, what is happening? What are we doing? I feel lost, or, whatever it is, we can tend to like, want to connect to something outside of us in order to bring us back. And I feel like instead of just like drawing a tarot card and being like, oh my God, like the devil, like, and then trying to like process that with your mind and stuff, the ritual aspect allows you to really integrate in your body. Like, oh, this card is telling me like I haven't really been taking care of myself lately. I need to have more self-care. So I'm going to do this ritual to bring me into that space so that self-care feels more available to me. Or, there's like a card in my deck for courage. Maybe you're like consulting the deck because you're feeling a lot of fear. So instead of like the card just being like, yeah, you're feeling a lot of fear, like you should tap into courage. Like, here's how you can do it if you're needing support. To have this more like well-rounded, embodied experience of connecting versus just like trying to analyze and process.
Absolutely. And I'm such a logical, analytical person. And so that's probably the biggest struggle for me, is sort of getting more in touch with my emotions and like how the spirit is connecting to me, versus just trying to like logically think it through. I try to put logic around my emotions a lot of times, and that just never works because emotions are not logical.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we all do that.
Sure.
It's definitely something we do.
Someone does have a question. They're wondering if you can give an example of using the oracle cards in a journal practice.
Totally. If you have like a daily journal practice where you can, journal about like how you're feeling each day, or what you're grateful for, or what's coming up for you, like if there's any like stress or anything on your mind that you're processing that you like to journal out, just draw a card along with it. Draw a card can also be like a prompt for you. If you draw a card, like I'm just gonna draw one. Okay, this card is spiritual maturation. So what does that bring up for you? If you're reading it in the guidebook, what does that like stir within? Like, how does that make you process? How does it make you feel? What's coming up for you? And kind of journal out what it means to you. But I definitely think like journaling and in this deck or any sort of deck go hand in hand for sure.
Yeah, and I think your book is good for that too. I know we talked about Ash's book already. We're talking about the Oracle deck today, but the book is Tending to the Sacred. Is that right? And, there's a lot in the book as well. And this person has your book and said that they loved your book and the illustrations. So you have the book. So I know that would be really helpful for that kind of thing as well. Cause there are lots of things in the book that I think would be helpful for reflection and all that stuff.
I also wrote the book to be used as a divination tool as well. So you can actually use the book in a similar way that you would use oracle cards. You can, set an intention or ask a question, close your eyes, and just open to a random page and start reading. I didn't really write it as a book that you read straight through. You can, but I feel like it gives you exactly what you need if you use it that way. Which can be really, really beautiful. They are like sisters. Like these two projects are, originally it actually was like I submitted to my publisher just an oracle deck, but my editor was like, it's wonderful, but it's a little too dense. I think that we should break it up. And so it became a book and an oracle deck. So they're very, very similar in so many ways, but the deck is now like just the tool and kind of continuing with ritual, where the book really explains ritual, sets up, how we engage in ritual, all the things.
Cool. And we had talked about maybe pulling a collective card. So can we do that real quick? Because I'm just really curious about what will come up.
So I think I'll do maybe we'll do like a past, present, future kind of thing. I feel like that's really good for us right now.
Yeah.
So focusing on, the lessons that we've been moving through as a collective, maybe what's coming up with this full moon or what's being activated right now for us. And then, what guidance can carry us into the future. Okay. All right, so in the past, we have the Rest Your Mind card. This is a card I painted with lavender and olive infusion and natural pigments. And this is a really good card for us. We've been in a time lately where it's so overwhelming, so noisy. There's so much happening every day. It's like a new thing, and another, tragedy or another, like just total chaos. It's been chaos. And this card is really like telling us that the medicine of what we've been moving through is to teach us to really ground, to teach us to empty out, to not, to be careful of what we're consuming, to not spend so much time in the mind and come back to our heart. Because we definitely, we're a collective that's really out of balance when it comes to like the mind-heart balance. We're very mind-oriented, logic-oriented, all the things. But I will read from the book what it says. This one. Okay. Our minds are powerful tools, often misused by the conditions and beliefs we inherit as we grow up in this life. It's important to use the mind for its logic and understanding when truly needed, but we create friction when we overanalyze or become locked in our thoughts. We explore the realms of the mind to learn, not to control. This card is coming to you today with the encouragement to give your mind a rest. Have you been navigating too much from the mind lately, forgetting the inner wisdom and power of your heart? This card may also be guiding you to develop a stronger connection to a meditation practice. Your mind doesn't need to be empty or clear, but you must find balance within the mind. Or if you're spending too much time in the mind, or when you're spending too much time in your head, you miss out on the gift of being in the present flow of your heart. This card is guiding you to make peace with your active mind so you can ground into your body and find a greater sense of ease, allowing the heart and head to melt together as one to embrace the wholeness of you. And I'll read the ritual that goes with this. It's actually a journaling practice. So some of the rituals in here are journaling practices. So it says to take a few minutes to journal out anything on your mind, any mental to-do list, any chatter, any conversations you're having in your head or, have had, any insecurities, anxieties, worries, feelings, wandering, so on. And the point of this practice is just to allow you to clear out everything that's looping in your mind. Just word vomit it out on paper. And then from this space that you now have, you can focus more on being still and present. And so from there, it says to close your eyes and sit with your spine straight and focus on your breath and just listen. You can listen to soft sounds, nature, healing tones. You can light a candle. Maybe you dab on some essential oils. Have a cup of warm tea, maybe lavender tea, since that's the plant really featured in this card. But just, sitting quietly with nothing is perfectly fine. You don't need anything. And the practice is just to sit in stillness for as long as possible, which is extremely hard for your average person of the now age with, a goldfish attention span. And try it for at least 5 to 10 minutes and always coming back to your breath or coming back to your senses, just trying to stay really present. And the more you return to this practice, the more space you create in your mind so that there's less of that the looping and the overwhelm. And I think that this is really, what this time has taught us. If we're consuming everything that's going on, if we're trying to process and analyze what is happening in the world right now, we're gonna spin out of control. We're gonna have a lot of anxiety, sleep disorders, whatever it may be. This is how we can actually get sick if we're not staying present in our own bodies, if we're going to out. So this is the past lesson, and which goes really nicely into the next card, which is cleanse and renew. And lavender was in this card too. So lavender is a theme for the collective right now. And this card is a lot about detoxing, what is not needed. What are you consuming that is not supporting your growth? Where are you not having energetic boundaries? Where are you letting external influences take you off center? So it reads, Dear sensitive soul, this card is coming to you as a reminder to cleanse your energy field. Having a strong and clear aura is paramount to health, prosperity, and alignment as a spiritual being living a human experience. When we hold on to energies not ours to carry, unconsciously bringing into our auric field energies of fear, doubt, and so on, we can create friction, imbalances, even illness and ailments manifesting in our body. It may be time to honor your sensitivities and cultivate a regular aura clearing practice, such as learning an energy healing modality or using ritual in the elements so you can keep your energy strong, protected, and aligned with your heart's truth. Your spirit may also be guiding you towards a deeper energetic clearing, such as from a trauma or ancestral or past life wound that may require support from a trusted healer. You may be holding on to dense energies from the past that are ready to be cleared. No matter what you are carrying, cleansing waters will relieve you. And this is kind of like the whole pandemic energy is really bringing on a great cleansing for our collective. And I think we're being shown like just the truth of what we can handle, what we can't handle. We're being shown all the unprocessed trauma we have in our collective, both, personally and, within generations, ancestors. And the full moon, which is today, the full moon is a time of release, and it is a time of cleansing. So I'm going to read the ritual for this, and this would be a really, really beautiful ritual to do tonight on the full moon. So it says, in a bucket or in a bathtub filled with warm water, combine 2 cups of sea salt or Epsom salts, and you can add in a handful of fresh basil or fresh rosemary, and then add in 4 to 6 drops of lavender essential oil, or a tablespoon of dried lavender, or you can make a lavender infusion and add that in, or lavender tea bag. And then resting in your bath or kneeling before your bucket outside on the earth, or you can do this in the shower even, take 4 slow and long deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And dunk your head under the water for a few seconds, or slowly begin pouring the bucket of healing water over your head. And when you're ready, you can repeat the following. You can say the following out loud. I am protected by the light of the divine, the energies of love that surround me always. I release all energies that are too dense for my light body, that are not aligned with my high heart, and I open to greater trust and connection to my higher self now. And you can just close your ritual by saying thank you to the waters, thank you to the plants, thank you to your guides or your ancestors. And I definitely recommend, if you were feeling called to do this ritual tonight or whenever, to have a clear intention of what you're wanting to clear. Are you wanting to clear judgment? Are you wanting to clear anxiety? Are you wanting to clear fear of what's happening in the world? There's a lot of fear of what's happening. Are we going to be okay? Is our family going to be okay? Cleansing that fear, letting go of everything in the mind. The mind doesn't know. The mind's never going to know what is true or what, is going to happen, but the heart knows. We're definitely in this time right now where there's so much division in the world because we're going at everything from a mental perspective. It's judgment. You're wrong, I'm right. Just being like really fixed in our morals. And that actually doesn't help us at all. What is going to help us find more peace and grace and ease and creativity and transformation to shift the energy that we're in is letting go of that and spending more time in our heart. So that's really the message of this card, is just to cleanse, like come back to who you really are, come back to your truth. And then I really like this for our future card. It's the resilient heart. And this card was painted with hawthorn infusion, rose, and also bleeding hearts essence. And I will read. This is a really beautiful one. So this is our reminder to carry us into the future. You are resilient. You are here to move through any and all trials of life to grow spiritually, learning the lessons your soul came here to learn and paving the pathway to your truth. Even when you don't feel it, within you is a divine energy of immense strength. It is your soul's light and deep internal wisdom connected to the heart of the divine. This strength is not found in holding it all together when things feel like they're falling apart. It is found in the vulnerable cracks of your healing heart. Your resilience is cultivated by having a fully open heart, even in the waves of collective and personal pain and struggle. This is how your love light grows. This is resilience. Your resilience becomes stronger by facing the hard stuff, the things that most people may choose to look away from from diving deep into the shadows and feeling through each limitation that your mind has designed to keep you safe. The vulnerability of your open, resilient heart is actually your most powerful protection. This card is a reminder of how deep the well of your heart's strength runs. You can persevere through anything that life throws your way. If you weren't strong enough to move through your current challenges, they wouldn't be happening. It is okay to surrender to whatever you're feeling. Anchor into your heart and allow it to guide. Pretty spot on, right? And the ritual for this card is just a mantra, so I'll just read it. So you would take the card, hold it at your heart, and say, I am a strong, brave, and resilient heart. My love can persevere through all obstacles, hardships, and fears. I am protected by the light of my love and the heart of the divine. I carry with me the strength and medicine of the elephant, a calm and ancient wisdom, steady grace, and connection to the earth below as I walk my path.
That's so beautiful. It was so spot on, the whole thing. The past, the present, it's like it all makes so much sense.
Right? Yeah, we really have to just be so resilient during this time, and resilience is an energy of the heart. It's not like control. I have to hold it all together. I just have to get through these things. Like, that's not resilience. Resilience is like feeling it all, and you continue to show up. You continue to have an open heart. You continue to trust life and be open to life, even if it's like, what the hell is happening right now? But you keep going and you keep healing, and you know that life isn't linear. You know, it's all a spiral that we're dancing together, and it's hard, but we've got this.
And I just randomly open your book because I have your book. I just randomly open it, and it's self-expression, which I think is pretty.
Wow.
It's pretty good for this.
Yeah, and that's really, like, to me, that's kind of like the foundation of all my work. As I said, it's like creativity. That's how we stay open and trusting and resilient and connected to love and connected to our hearts and connected to each other, is to keep creating and showing up and expressing ourselves and being vulnerable and having the courage to be seen. And I think that this is a time that's really drawing out creativity from us, because it's like, if we want to live in a different world, if we want to have, you know, a different collective foundation that we're all operating on, we have to create it. We have to dig up the old, like compost it and create the new, and plant new seeds. And we all came here for a reason, to share something really specific, to share, you know, it doesn't have to be like so specific as in like, this is your offering, but, you know, a specific medicine that you carry, an energy that you carry, a light that you carry. And if you're not listening to that, and you're not trusting your heart, and, you know, dropping down from the mind and being present with yourself, you might never discover your magic, discover how magical you are and what you're here to create. So my hope is that this deck and the book can really open that for you, open that for whoever reads it, to know that everything that you need is within you. You came here for a reason. Your purpose lives in your heart, and it's time to get creative.
Yeah, and I love mantras, and one I tell myself every single day is that I would follow my own light through any darkness. It's one that I just like every single morning. You know, I tell myself a lot of things. I have a lot of mantras. I'm really into mantras, and they work. And one of mine is, I would follow my own light through any darkness, and I believe that I would. You know, it's like, I know that there's a light inside, and I want to share it with the world. But also, you know, especially when things are feeling bad, like the world, you know, is just a lot of things happening, and like you're saying, it's been chaos. And yeah, that's gotten me through a lot of it. Is like, okay, just follow my own light through whatever. So that's just, I just wanted to share that because maybe someone else might find that helpful. Also.
I love that.
Well, we do have someone has a question for the Oracle deck, which we
Okay.
probably have time for. So Lynn has a question, and the question Lynn wants to know, what is my role in helping others?
Okay. Pulled my favorite card, one of my favorite cards. Awakening the Dreamer. So this is actually a really good card to end on because it relates so much to what we just said, but I will read it. Daring dreamer, you are being called to broaden your vision of what is possible and dream a new world into being. The seeds of dreams that live in your heart that were intentionally placed there for a reason. They are meant to be cast out as powerful sparks that inspire greater dreams for humanity. What you dream is dreaming you back. The dreamer and the dream seeds within you are natural for you. The dreamer and the dream seeds within you are natural for you to resonate with. You only need to cast aside your logic and dive into the expansive, watery realms of your heart's vision. This card is asking you to go deeper, to spend time in meditation visualizing what you desire to create. Visualize the world you wish to dream into being. Allow each vision to be the spark that lights the way. You don't need to know how you will bring this vision to life. That is the mind trying to control the flow of love's expression through you. The first step is just to dream and light the spark in your heart. The universe will take care of the rest. It's time to awaken the dreamer within.
I love that.
So in terms of the question, this card could potentially be sharing with you, to connect more to your dream. How do you wish to show up in the world? I think it's like very common for, I would say, women especially, to be really focused on service and be focused on like, how can I heal others? We have such a natural, like, I want to help, I want to heal, I'm here to nurture energy. But oftentimes the most healing we can provide is just by connecting to our own dreams and desires. So that's, one way that you can receive this card. Another way is to help people connect to their dreams, to help people connect to what is that expanded vision that they have for their lives. What are they not open to? What are they maybe like guilty to want, like feeling guilty to want more than maybe what they have now, or feeling like they don't have the resources or don't have, what they feel they might need in order to make a dream come true. But if you are dreaming it, you're meant to, plant the dream, watch it bloom. And the ritual for this card is actually a dream ritual. So Lynn, if you want to do this dream ritual tonight, which could be really potent on the full moon, basically you have your journal next to your bed and a glass of water on your bedside table. And the reason why we have water is because water is the most receptive element. It's also like a conduit for energy. So, you can even set your intention into the water to amplify the space. But before you're going to bed, take a moment to call on your guides, your guardians, angels, ancestors, animal spirits, whatever beings you feel connected to, calling them in for protection and support. And then set the intention to be shown your greatest dreams and visions for your life through your dream messages. So, asking for like just the clear vision to arrive. And the reason why this is so powerful, because in the dream realm is where we can access like the deepest parts of us that hold like the blueprint for our soul. It's like where the seeds of creation live, like deep, deep, deep in the subconscious. So go to sleep, and then upon waking up, just immediately journal before you do anything, before you look at your phone, press snooze, whatever you got to do, and just start recording colors, shapes, sounds, people, phrases, like anything that you remember. And if you have a hard time remembering your dreams, you can kind of let yourself like drift back a little bit, like to go back into like a meditative state before you're fully awake, and just like ask them to come back, like do like a little like press rewind and let it come back. And I feel that, you know, if we're dreaming and we're working with our dreams, we're able to access more creativity. So it's a very powerful practice.
That's great. Well, yes, Lynn, hopefully you find what you're looking for too. And I totally agree that connecting with yourself and what you want to do completely helps you to connect with others, and helping others. And that's how I opened the bookstore, because I was so focused on everyone else and just never really thought about how do I want to move through the world. And when I started thinking about that, so many things opened up, and I've been able to help so many people just by doing what I felt like I was called to do, and not being afraid of it. So I do think that is really important to know what you want and what you dream, and then I think you can definitely find ways to help others through that if you're living your truth.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley. This was lovely as always. And if y'all want to purchase the deck, it is called Messages from the Heart of the Divine. And you can purchase it from us. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you would want to purchase from us. And so if you just go to our website, tubbyandcoos.com, you can go to tubbyandcoos.com/special order, and you can place the order there, and we'll ship to you. If you don't live here, you can go pick it up from the store if you do. Either way. And we have the book too, Tending to the Sacred, which if you missed that event, go back and watch it, because that was a really lovely event as well. And I can't wait to get my hands on this tarot deck, or on the Oracle deck, because I really loved your illustrations in your book, and it kind of seems like the Oracle deck has a similar, like you're saying, they're sisters, has a similar vibe. So I'm really excited to like get to use them both together. So thank you so much for talking to me and for being here.
Such a joy. Thank you so much.
And thanks everyone for watching. And we will see y'all next time. And yes, buy things from Tubby and Coos. This would also make a great gift as well.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.